Hi, and welcome to CMPB's Speakers for Schools programme. My name's Rachel, and today I'm going to be chatting to Emily Yeardley. Now, Emily is a solicitor for Couchman Hanson, and Emily's going to tell us a little bit about what she does and how she got to that position. So, hi, Emily.
Hi, Rachel.
Thank you so much for joining us today.
It's my pleasure.
So, Emily, we know you're a solicitor, but can you tell us what it is you actually do?
Yes, so I'm head of the Employment Law Department at Couchman Hanson, and on a day-to-day basis, I advise both employees and employers on all manner of employment law and HR issues. So it may be that employees have a complaint, they're unhappy at work, and they want to raise a complaint formally and have that dealt with by their employer. It may be that actually that complaint turns into something a little bit more serious and ends up in a tribunal, which is like a court, but is a forum to have their complaints heard. And if they're successful, they would get a judgment and some compensation awarded to them. As well as acting for the employee, I also act for the employer. So it may be that I'm defending a claim that an employee is bringing against the employer. But I also provide sort of day-to-day human resource type advice regarding issues. And I'm also able to draft documents such as contracts and handbooks for them to set out what policies they have in place and that employees should abide by.
Wow, it sounds like interesting, but also a lot of information there that you're having to provide and work with.
Yeah, there's certainly no 2 days are the same, and employment law is actually one of the widest areas of law, so there's a lot to know.
Yeah, and do you work with big companies then, or smaller, or a bit of a mixture?
I work with a range of companies, so it can be from a sort of one-man band, somebody who's a sole trader who started up a business, all the way up to large corporates, you know, with sort of any number of hundreds of staff. Sometimes if it's a large company, they'll have an HR manager or department, and it may be that I'm dealing with the HR manager or department because they deal with the employment law issues and deal with all the employees. Or it may be that I'm actually talking to the owner of the business because they don't have that resource in-house.
Yeah. And so do you enjoy your job then? Is it quite rewarding?
I do enjoy my job. There are certainly very stressful days and often tight timescales and pressures involved. There's also a lot of emotion in employment law because people spend a lot of time at work and it's really important to them. One of the things that I particularly enjoy helping people on is where they suffer from either a mental health issue or a physical injury, and they need some advice about, you know, what it is their employer must do to support them in certain circumstances. And also helping employers where they have somebody who may be disabled in the eyes of the law, and ensuring that they treat them in a fair and non-discriminatory way. But also I'm dealing with claims against employers where employees who are disabled have had issues and perhaps that isn't quite the case.
Right. Sounds really interesting. And so how did you get to where you are today? If we go back to sort of when you left school, is it something you always wanted to be sort of involved in, or?
So originally I wanted to be a criminal solicitor, and I think I was definitely influenced by the TV programme The Bill. It was, I don't know if you remember it, but it was a crime drama about the police, and there was a character in there called Polly Page.
Yeah,
who's a blonde policewoman, and I loved Polly Page. I wanted to be like her. But then as I grew up, I realised that that wasn't necessarily going to get me my red sports car, which was obviously what I thought was really important when I was younger. So I knew I needed to do something that would earn a little bit more money. And I decided on becoming a solicitor one day. And to be honest, it's just always stuck, really. I did do some work experience and worked in the criminal department and realised quite quickly that perhaps that wasn't for me. So I did some work experience in an employment law firm, and actually I really enjoyed it. I enjoyed the buzz. I enjoyed the sort of tight timescales and the pressure of trying to get quick results for clients, and that's really what hooked me. But in terms of leaving school, I left school and I went to work in a solicitor's firm for a year. And that was a gap between, after college, that was a gap between college and university. I took a gap year, but I deferred my place. And I used that year to work in a law firm to save up money to pay for my university fees, but also to gain experience in working in a law firm to make sure it's absolutely what I wanted to do. And then after university, I went to the College of Law in Guildford and studied the legal practice course. And then I worked for 2 years on a training contract, which is effectively an agreement with law firms to train you in various areas of the law. And that's a requirement to then be able to qualify as a solicitor.
Right. So you sort of did A levels, then off to university. Oh no, you did your year, which is fantastic, because actually you've gained some experience, like you say, and made sure that that is definitely the area you want to go down. Then how long did you have to spend at university?
I was at university for 3 years, and I went to the University of Portsmouth. I didn't go to, the likes of the Cambridge or the Oxford University, which often you hear about in the legal world. And that was really a personal choice because I didn't want to be living away from home. So I actually commuted every day because I wasn't somebody who really wanted the university life. I just wanted to get to where I wanted to be as quickly as possible.
And so then leaving university, was it 2 years, did you say?
So university was 3 years. And then I did the legal practice course, which I did full-time, which was over 1 year. You can do it part-time and work at the same time. I actually did it full-time, and I did work a little bit in a law firm, but it's quite intense doing that. And then after the legal practice course, you have to do sort of on-the-job training in what's called a training contract. And it can be very competitive and very difficult to get a training contract. But I was fortunate that the firm that I had worked in obviously knew who I was and knew that I wanted to progress and were happy to support me through that.
Do you think it helped having that year experience as well, going back to, before university? That probably helped when you applied for the role.
Yeah, I think it helped in two main ways. Firstly, that it allowed me to have that experience and to know what it was actually like to work in a law firm, because studying the law and working in an office are completely different. And some people aren't people that enjoy working in an office 9 to 5. I did, and I was fortunate about that. But the other thing that I think was really important was actually to start at the bottom and to work my way up. And now I started as a receptionist and worked up to head legal secretary. And now I have a huge amount of respect and appreciation for support staff who do a fantastic job and actually keep us on track and actually out of trouble a lot of the time.
Yeah, because you've done all that, you've done all the roles, and I suppose that's given, like you say, even more experience and a connection with your support staff.
And they're under pressure as well. It's something that ultimately the buck stops with you, but you can understand the pressures that they're under to try and help you to achieve those outcomes.
Yeah, and you can really understand that because you've you've been there, done that, and
exactly. Yeah.
And so what does your future hold then? Will you just continue with what you're doing now, or do you have any aspirations for the future?
So I've obviously reached the head of department, which was kind of my aspiration for quite a long time, which means that I'm able to lead a team. We're looking to grow the department and increase the department and the number of people within it. So we're doing that at the moment. But of course, in order to be able to increase the number of solicitors or support staff within the department, we need to grow the amount of clients that we are acting for. So I take a really keen interest in business development for the firm. So as well as doing the day job of advising clients and all of the things that come within an employment solicitor's role, I'm also key at building relationships and also managing the social media and the marketing aspects of employment law. So there's a lot of positive things that we're going to be working on to try and increase the client base so that we can expand the department. And really that's my focus now for the next 3 to 5 years.
Yeah, exciting if you're growing and encouraging more people to join the firm and things like that. That's
Yeah, and I don't like to be quiet, so it's all about keeping busy, keeping productive and staying motivated, because I think when you go quiet it can often affect your motivation.
And it must be, like you say, there must be lots of stresses and challenges with your job. Is there anything that you do to help yourself unwind or help yourself switch off? Any hobbies?
So there's often days where you're fighting against other people and you're, having calls and being pecked at all day, I say. So I do enjoy yoga. I also have a little dog, so I take her for walks. And working from home in these strange times is actually really good for that, because it's easier to get out at lunchtime and just stretch your legs, and it actually means that you're more productive in the afternoon. So I do try and get exercise every day, and I just like socializing and enjoying time with my friends.
I think it's really important, isn't it, when you're doing such a high-powered, stressful job, is it? Yeah, walk away. And
you've got to be able to switch off. Yeah, and I think everybody has a different way of doing that, and it's about finding the right thing for you, because it's really important that work is integral part of your life, but it's not everything.
Yeah, absolutely. And so do you have any final bits of advice for any sort of school-age students just thinking about what their career choice might be?
Yeah, I think it's great that this kind of talk is available, because when I was looking for a career, I think there was very limited careers advice, and I'm fortunate that I actually wanted to do one of the few things that the careers advisors told you were a career that's available. So doctor, nurse, lawyer, etc. But I think there's so many jobs out there that I didn't know about and still don't know about. And I think one of the key things is ask your parents what they do, ask about what their friends do, ask about what your friends' parents do, to understand the kind of jobs that are out there, because there are so many. And work experience is a great way of understanding what actually happens on a day-to-day basis, because a job role might sound glamorous, but actually the work that's involved might not be. And even if you think you're not interested in something, do some work experience, or spend a day chatting to a person about what it is they do, because you might find that it's an opportunity for you to look at moving into that kind of work that otherwise you would never have known about. So I definitely think knowledge is power.
Yeah, no, I mean, they're fantastic, valuable bits of advice. So thank you. And thank you so much for sharing your career story and your journey today. It's been absolutely brilliant chatting to you. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Thanks, Rachel.